Welcome to Right on Track, a songwriting podcast. Thanks to Tone for tuning in. I'm Demi Michelle Schwartz, and I'm thrilled you're joining me on my songwriting journey. So kick back and relax, don't fall flat, and remember, stay right on track. Hey everyone, welcome back to Right on Track. I am so excited because joining me today is a very special guest I've been wanting to have on the show for a very long time. So please welcome Robbie Hearte. Hey Robbie.
Hey, Demi, thank you so much for having me on here today. It's great to finally be able to connect.
I know for sure. I'm so excited to have you. We are going to be having a very important conversation today centered around writing songs that have more real topics, and I can't wait to dive into this. But before we do that, can you share with the listeners a little about yourself and your songwriting journey?
Thank you. So I'm a singer-songwriter originally from Montreal, Canada. I moved to the New York in 2007 to get married and start my new life. And it was always my dream to start a singing career and be a professional singer-songwriter. Unfortunately, I was badly injured about a year later while I was pregnant with my daughter. And as a result, I lost my ability to sing. I was in horrible chronic pain and I couldn't sing anymore, and my dream was taken off the table. It was a very difficult time of my life, but I had really lost sense of who I was during that process. And several years later, my daughter was diagnosed with autism. And about when she was 7 years old, we sat her down and we said, you have autism. There's nothing wrong with that. You're going to be able to live all your dreams and do everything you love, and you can do anything and be anything. And as I was saying those words, I realized I wasn't following my dream, even though it was really difficult for me and I was battling, health issues and chronic pain. I realized I had to put my plan into action to show her firsthand what it looked like to follow my dreams. And that's really what kickstarted my journey into singing and songwriting. And that took place in 2017. And I have my daughter to thank. My desire to be the best possible role model for her really fueled my desire to put myself out there, no matter how difficult it was. So I started in 2017 and I haven't looked back since.
That is such a powerful story. Also, thank you so much for sharing that as well. I think it
Thank
will
you.
inspire, yeah, of course. I'm pretty sure it will inspire so many people to not let any kind of chronic pain or disability or anything stop them from chasing their dreams. And I think that's a really important message because sometimes when you have some kind of barrier, especially in a situation where with you, it's almost like you had this dream of being a musician taken away from you. But you were able to push past that and for your daughter say, look, I'm going to step up. I'm going to be a role model for her and show not only yourself and her, but prove to the world that nothing can stand in the way of truly chasing a dream. So super inspiring story. So thank you for sharing that.
You summed that up so beautifully. And I just want to take a moment to say thank you for saying that, first of all. I hope that I inspire anybody out there who's hesitating to do anything because of their age, where they live, how they look, the shape that they're in. Like, I hope that it inspires every single person who hears this to say, hey, I'm going to give this my best shot. I mean, just to give you perspective, I'm the oldest I've ever been. I'm the heaviest I've ever been, but I'm the most successful I've ever been. So none of those things that I used to think would hold me back from doing anything, they didn't stop me. In fact, I'm doing better than I ever thought I could. And really, it just goes to show you that the desire and a little bit of self-confidence and pushing yourself out there is just what you need to get kickstarted.
Absolutely. So powerful. And this goes to anything, not just the music industry. No
Oh,
matter what you want to
absolutely.
do, just go after it. And I think you have a really great point as well of don't listen to society and what they say because especially in music there can be this perception you need to look this way or be this age or have this kind of voice and this kind of past and blah 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 blah. Like there's so much chatter going on, but I truly think the best music and the best people in this industry are the authentic ones that turn their back on what society says, and no matter who they are, they belong in the industry. And making a statement like that and your story as well, just showing that, look, this is me and I'm proud of who I am and I'm putting myself out there and bringing that inspiration to others is super special.
Well, thank you. That's beautiful, and that's exactly what I hope to do. And I hope that that is exactly my platform: being authentic, being true to myself, not following, all the what society expects. I try to keep everything real as much as possible because I realize my daughter's watching, other people are watching, and I have an opportunity to show them something different than what they're seeing everywhere else. And I think that in this business, when you have an opportunity to share a message, then it's very powerful to be able to share something that's true to your own message. I don't want to say somebody else's message. I want to share my message. So, very grateful to have the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a perfect transition into the quote for this episode, which is a fantastic one by Brené Brown. So, can you read that?
Yes, I love this quote. It really speaks to me and my journey in my songwriting. Vulnerability sounds like truth and feels like courage. Truth and courage aren't always comfortable, but they're never weakness.
So, why does this resonate with you?
It really resonates with me to my soul. When I write my music, I take the most painful and personal things I've ever gone through. They're very raw experiences. And I expose myself with them, but I use it to turn it into something beautiful and a message of hope for other people. So, although I'm sharing something that I've gone through that's either been painful or very upsetting or difficult to overcome, I know a lot of people would say, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you just shared that you were in such a terrible time of your life." I'm like, "Yes, but I overcame it." So being real, being honest, and being vulnerable isn't weak at all. It's actually very strong. And it's even more incredible when you can take those experiences and turn them into something positive and beautiful. And that's what I aim to do with my music.
Absolutely, 100%. I love this quote as well because I think that being truthful and being vulnerable, the last thing it is weak. It takes so much courage and so much strength. The easy thing to do is to, as a songwriter, just write about the surface things and just as a person, hide the pain and not talk about your deep truths and all of that. That's the easy way. But we're making the choice as songwriters and just as human beings and talking to other people and all of that, we're making the choice to show vulnerability and show that courage because as we talked about just a couple minutes ago, when you open up about things that someone else can perceive as, oh God, like that's awful. Why would you talk about that? Like when you open up about those things, that's inspiring other people. Number one, that it's okay to talk about these things. And number two, that it can bring an inner peace sometimes. You feel like there's a weight lifted off your shoulders and also that I think through opening up about these truths, it's just a way to connect with other people. There's so many people all over the world experiencing things that maybe they're not comfortable speaking of themselves, but when you hear it in a song or you hear someone speak about it, it can inspire you. Hey, I don't have to hide this. I can talk about this too. And also makes you feel like you're seen by other people because others are in that boat, even when you may feel like you're the only one.
I agree with you 100%. I think that being real and truthful and sharing these truths is empowering not only to ourselves as songwriters, but to the people who hear these messages. I have written a variety of very personal songs from overcoming the demons of my past and abusive situations, mental health and suicide. Somebody that I knew that had a very difficult time, and songs about my daughter and autism, and all of these subjects on their own would be considered taboo. People would say, "Oh, I can't believe you would write a song about those topics. Those aren't really pop songs," or but that's not my intention. My intention is to share a message. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard somebody come to me and say, that song that you wrote outside my window? I didn't realize that somebody was listening." Or, I can't thank you enough for putting that topic out there in the light so that people know that people are listening and that it's okay to not be okay. I wrote two songs about my daughter and her autism and how she makes the world a better place. And autism, even though it's so prevalent and there's so many young people that are diagnosed with it every day, it's still so taboo. And writing songs about it and empowering her to feel proud of who she is, my goal was really to take away the stigma. And I can't tell you how many people said to me, "Thank you for putting a positive spin on autism." Because whenever you hear somebody talking about autism, it almost sounds like it's, oh, not a great thing. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, look at this beauty that these children bring to the world. And so I feel like what you're saying is right. You have an opportunity to connect with people. Sometimes there are topics that people don't normally put into the light. And I've had people tell me that my song, um, You Don't Belong Here, which is a very empowering song, really helped them through a hard time. And it just really, really makes me feel amazing as a human being. I've taken the most personal stories that I've ever gone through and that I've never even told people out loud, and I've put them on songs to distribute around the entire world and really share them. And just the reaction has been incredible, and the support from people who receive the songs has been incredible. And it makes it feel like it's worthwhile, even though I feel exposed. I feel like, okay, everybody sees me now and they've read my journal and now they know everything I've lived through. But I'm standing here and I'm still doing okay. So that's got to say something.
Yeah, absolutely. So much you said resonated so much with me. I think one of the biggest things is that, maybe you haven't or I haven't spoken about something specifically out loud or put it in a text message or in a conversation, but we're writing songs about these things. And as a songwriter, that's when I started to turn to my craft when I was in college and was dealing with some stuff. I'm super introverted and I'm not really that kind of person to just like go up to somebody and like pour my heart out and look for help or whatever. But I turned to songwriting to process things and, to share my story in a way that felt not actually like direct. Like I'm not actually telling someone, but in a way I am sharing my story. And yes, it's exposing, but you're doing it in a way that kind of puts a barrier between you and the listener because it's in song form instead of direct conversation. And so I find that as a great comfort when I'm writing my songs. And, some songs that I haven't shared yet that are coming on my next album are some of the most vulnerable songs and the most direct, truthful songs I've written. And I think, too, as a songwriter, I haven't started out, like when I started out, I wasn't doing songs that were as deep because I needed to get a handle on the craft and I was a little afraid of being vulnerable. But once you start to get the kind of reciprocation from others and you start to realize what these songs are doing, I think that just gives me more motivation to open up about the darker topics and the deeper things because what we need to remember is that even though these topics that you brought up and that I'm going to be exploring in my next project, even though those aren't in songs as much and maybe they're not talked about as much, sometimes those are the ones that are most important to be heard because the people out there who need those songs, they may not be able to find them because there aren't as many songs out there on those topics. And so I think that's why it's more important than ever, and especially in the world that we live in now, to just be open about the things that in our lives maybe have caused us pain that we've healed from in order to give that to somebody else who needs it.
I think that's exactly correct. I think that when you hear a song and it speaks to something that you've gone through, whether it's not going to be exactly what you went through, but it's in the vein of something you've gone through. And just the power of knowing that you're not alone and that you're not the only person who's carrying this weight or going through something uncertain. It's just so amazing. And it brings a sense of peace to the listener because the person doesn't feel alone. And just having a connection over music is just incredible. But I just want to side note while you were talking about your songwriting, I wanted to congratulate you because I see you're up for so many awards.
Oh,
And
thank
I'm
you.
so proud of you for starting this journey and doing so well. So, congratulations. That's
Thank you.
amazing.
Thank you so much. And, just going off of that, you're up for awards as well and you were a gold winner for ISSA. And I think too, that just shows that the music we're creating, it's landing. People are loving it, people are relating to it. And as a songwriter, and I'm sure you can feel this way too, the last thing I would want is to be up for an award that wasn't authentic and wasn't truthful to me.
I agree.
Being authentic and writing things that may be difficult, that's what's resonating. And I want to be recognized as someone who's putting myself out there like that.
I think that's exactly where I'm coming from as a songwriter. Like, I don't want to spend too much time talking about the ISA from last year, but last year, one of my songs that was nominated was Outside My Window, and it was nominated for Single of the Year. And that was a song that I wrote about mental health and, somebody who lost their battle, to a difficult situation. And I really struggled before I released the song because I said, you know what, this is a really deep conversation. This is a real serious song. And I don't know, it's because it's so personal. I don't know if I should put it out there. And then I said, you know what, because it's so personal and because so many people are going through this song needs to be out there. Somebody out there needs to know that there are people listening. And I really was like flip flopping. Should I release the song? I feel bad releasing this song. Should I release the song? And then I did. And I got such a positive response to the song, which in itself was amazing. But when I won the award for Single of the Year for that song, I couldn't believe it because I felt here's a song that I thought was a taboo topic to write about because it's not conventional. And a lot of radio stations wouldn't necessarily want to play that type of a song. But to know that that message was received so well and that it was necessary, like you said, I couldn't be more proud of that award.
Yeah, absolutely. You said something in there that I definitely want to touch on. You said that radio stations, most likely some of them wouldn't want to play a song with that topic. And that's a whole other conversation, but just to touch on that briefly, I think that as independent artists, we have so much freedom to write the songs we want to write and put out songs with messages that may not have commercial appeal. And I think that's really sad looking at the mainstream market because these messages deserve to be heard at the widest audience possible. And, as independent artists, we don't have as wide as a reach as the mainstream artists do. But if commercial stations and just other radio stations were more open to sharing songs with these deeper topics, then that would help these songs reach more listeners. And so I think we're doing the right thing by continuing to write these songs because the more artists that do it, hopefully it'll start to catch attention of some of the gatekeepers and they'll start to realize, hey, maybe these songs do need heard.
I couldn't agree with you more. And you also highlighted one of the reasons I love being an indie artist. One of the very, very biggest perks, in my opinion, is that I can write about any topic I want.
Yeah.
And I don't have to answer to anybody. I don't have to appease anybody or an audience. I write what I feel. And if I feel that it's what's right for me, then that's what I'm doing. And I'm authentic and my message is authentic. And I know who I want to reach. Like you pointed out, the downside of that is not being able to reach enough people who need to hear it. But hopefully, with time and with networking, the people will get the message. You have to create it. And then you just need to hope that it gets to the right sets of ears and the people who really need to benefit from that message. And I think that is one of the most beautiful parts of being an indie artist.
100%. I completely agree. And the other side of that too is like if you were signed to a major label and you wrote outside my window and they said, "Oh, you can't record this." I'm like, "Why not? Like it needs to be heard. I want to record the song." I feel like I am someone as well who I love the creative freedom and I feel like not to do the whole Taylor Swift thing, but that's her music. She's re-recording her music and that's her songwriting. Same thing, like everything I write, my music, I have the right to do whatever I want with it, say whatever I want with it. And I personally don't think that, yes, there's a marketability side to music, but when you're dealing with songwriters who are writing authentically, I don't think that anybody really has the right to like tie our hands and not let us talk about something we feel passionate about.
I understand the business side because I do come from a corporate background from my previous industry that I worked in, but I also understand the creative side, and I like to think that my journey is creativity based. I'm not out to sell more records as much as I am to, help heal things and come to peace with things that I've lived through. And I do that through writing songs.
Yeah.
And like you said, if somebody said you can't write that song, you can't share it, it's almost like somebody duct taping your mouth closed.
Oh, yeah,
You have
absolutely.
something you want to say. Like I know some of my songs, like I was a complete and total basket case until I recorded them. I was like, oh my God, I have like the energy was so create like I can't explain it. It was like frenzied until I got to record it. And then I felt this tremendous peace come over me. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, now it's done. I'm at peace. And that's, for me as an artist, that's how I heal. I don't know that I would want somebody to say to me, I understand. Like I released a song in September called Reason to Rise. It was a very, very personal ballad, very vulnerable, talking about my most difficult times through my journey these last 14 years and how I was at the lowest point of my life. Now, again, I'm a very private person. I rarely talk about my troubles. And here I'm telling the entire world I fell so low. I was at the worst part of my life, and I'm like, that's not something I normally would say to people. But the flip side of that is, but now I'm shining and my life is doing well. So there was a flip side to that. And the emphasis in the song is on the positive and the bright side, not the difficulties that I had. It was more the self discovery. And, I know that song isn't for everybody, and that's okay because I didn't write that song for everybody. I wrote that song for me. I wrote that song for my daughter who lifted me up from a difficult situation. And I wrote that song for music, who carries me along this journey and gives me breath and life. So, not every song you're going to write is going to be a hit single or a hit song. And not every song you're going to write is going to resonate with people. But if you go out there with the outlook, I am writing this song to heal me, I'm writing the song to come to peace with something that I went through and that I never found a way to come to peace. But this song helped me heal and brought me calm. And then that's for me a hit,
Yeah.
because that's more important for me as a human being at the end of the day, to be at peace with who I am and the things that have happened to me throughout my life.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I'm a songwriter first and the rest comes after. As songwriters, the goal is to just write what we want to write, heal from things, process things, and that's how I am as well. And the things that, inspire me to write are oftentimes the most emotional situations, the most difficult situations. Because, over the past few years, ever since I started songwriting, the only way I really have understood myself to be able to heal from things and like move on is to write a song about it. And I don't have to release these songs. I could have just been a songwriter, just going about my life doing something else and doing more as a hobby and just writing songs I want to write. But I think there's something to be said about the songwriters who are making the choice to release these songs because we're giving those songs a chance to touch other people's lives as well.
I think you're also giving your song wings. You're giving your songs a voice,
Yeah.
and the voice is necessary to carry the message. So I think I'm very happy that you're doing that and that you've pursued this dream.
Absolutely. 100%. So now I want to hear about your new single, Sticks and Stones. So can you share the inspiration behind this one?
Yes, absolutely. Like all my other songs, they're autobiographical. There's stuff that I've gone through, and this song is no exception. It speaks to a toxic and very negative relationship that I had, and it's me flipping the narrative on somebody who's gaslighting and just being very destructive. And I took that energy and I turned it into something positive. I used it to light a spark and start a fire, and it's a very empowering song. It's a song about standing up for yourself, but it's an empowerment song, but taking something negative and turning it into something positive.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think that's a reoccurring theme that has come up multiple times where you're talking to take something that may have been painful and negative, and instead of returning that negative energy, you're putting something positive out there and you're empowering yourself. I have a song called Rain on My Parade that is going to be on my next project, which, was inspired by last year when I got Josie Awards nominations. There were certain people who were close to me who were like totally tearing me down and trying to ruin the moment. And I could have let that get to me, but instead I wrote this song, which is basically saying I'm proud of myself and you can't rain on my parade. And inspiring other people to don't let people ruin those moments for them. And so I think just as songwriters too, just adding that positive spin, putting that empowerment out there because people need it. And so I'm so happy you did that again with this song and saw the silver lining in a way, and instead of giving that person what they wanted and saw how much like, they hurt you or whatever, like you flipped it around and made it something positive, which is fantastic.
Well, thank you. And first of all, I want to unpack a few things there, if I may. First of all, congratulations on being nominated last year. In
Thank
case the
you.
people who didn't hear, we received over 50,000 nominations and only 2 point something percent made it to nominations. So I'm very, very proud of you for getting nominated. And, I think that it's very sad that we live in a world where people feel the need to tear somebody down, and I think that we should be able to look at each other and say, yes, you're talented and I'm talented, but we can both be talented and we can both, there's enough room in this universe for us, several of us, to be talented and nominated and support one another. And it's so much easier to support each other and give each other positivity because it does come back. And so I'm very sorry you had that experience, but just know that I'm cheering for you. And I'm going to be at the Josies and I'm going to be at the Isas and I'm going to be cheering for you.
Thank
So
you.
congratulations. But thank you very much for saying the positive spin on the song. Like your situation, it was very difficult And I always try not to give in to negative situations. And again, I'm a mom. I'm a mom to a child who goes through similar situations. How I react to a situation dictates how my child's going to react. If I turn around and act badly, then how can I tell my child not to act badly in a similar situation? And sometimes I tell her not saying anything speaks louder than answering somebody when they're gaslighting or when they're being rude to you. Not answering is a louder and louder answer, really, because you don't even take the time to answer or to dignify that answer. And I felt that it was a very good opportunity to share my story, my song, and also hopefully empower other people. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And also too, I think, with the role model thing and just being in the public eye so much, I want to be seen as somebody who supports others. And even though I'm going through something negative here and there, I try not to project that, and I try to be positive all the time because let's be real, like the world needs more positivity. And I think now more than ever, people are falling into the trap of, showing negative, vibes and showing negative energy instead of channeling positive. So just reminding ourselves that we are in a position to make a change, no matter how small we may be in the wider scheme of things. But everybody has a voice, and we're using ours for positive. So that's really important.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I'm so happy to be able to connect with somebody who's so like minded and coming from such a similar energy point. So I'm very pleased that we're able to have this conversation because I think the world needs to hear more positivity. And again, like we could all support each other. It doesn't take away from our talent or our ability to help raise somebody else and lift somebody else up.
Right, because we're all on different paths. And I think it's really important to
Exactly.
remember that. Like, even if you look at our favorite mainstream artists, they all made it in different ways. And one success doesn't diminish in others and the other way around. And I think sometimes when we're looking at someone's journey and thinking, God, I wish I had that, like, that's what I wanted. Like, you don't know what they did behind the scenes. You don't know how long they've been working at it. And maybe someone gets lucky, this or that or whatever, but we need to remember that we're all on our own journeys and that's what matters. And we can't compare ourselves to others and take away from others' success because that's why I'm so positive too and supporting others because when something happens to me that's positive or, a success, like I want people to be happy for me. And if you're coming off as somebody who just cares about yourself and tears other people down when they're successful, no one's going to be there to cheer you on when it's your turn. And so that's just what I'm trying to keep in mind is like being positive and recognizing everybody's paths are different.
That is a great outlook. Honestly, it's amazing. I can't even say anything more to that because you nailed it. You really did. And I have to say, this is very like again personal. I've been very blessed to not have the gene of wanting what other people have. Like I don't want what other people have. I never have. I don't really care what other people. I'm happy for them. That's great for them. I'm happy with what I have, and I think that helps me a lot as an artist because I don't look at friends of mine that are seemingly more successful or getting more airplay or getting more opportunities. I never look at them and think, oh, I should have that or I want that. I think I'm happy for them and I know the right opportunities for me will present. And I'm very, very grateful because on this journey with, streams and stats and everything so visible and everything is so accessible to everybody, it's so easy to see how you're doing compared to other people. And it's also so easy to lose sight of yourself in that because you're constantly tracking how you're doing and how many people are watching. And I don't do that. I'm not interested. Like I'm just doing what I'm doing and I'm happy. And I'm happy when I see other friends like or yourself posting that you're having successes or other artists that I know that are doing really well. I'm happy for them because that's their journey. And my journey is a different journey. And I'm happy for what I'm accomplishing. And we can all just do our own journey and share our accomplishments and cheer each other on.
Absolutely. And it's inspiring too. I'm so inspired when somebody I know has success because then that just pushes me to keep going as well because it's out there for all of us. So I completely agree.
I really do love the way that you think. I think it's awesome. We need more people like you. We need more voices like yours.
Oh, thank you. You too. Absolutely. So, for the songwriters out there who are struggling to use their voices and write about real topics they feel they need to write about, what advice would you give them?
Well, first I would say I'm proud of you for writing because I know it's difficult to get started. Sometimes there's so much self-doubt that goes into writing and I think that you need to stay true to yourself and you need to do what is meaningful to you. But I will also say that over the last couple of years, I started out writing in a journal-like fashion where it was very raw and vulnerable, and I always found it was very easy for people to find their stories in my songs because it was so open and raw. But I also learned how to tell the story from a positive and empowered point of view. You know, I had the choice to write from a victim point of view or a woe is me point of view, or write, okay, well, you tried to tear me down, but you couldn't. So I'm standing tall and I'm very proud of where I am. I learned that I can tell the story in whatever voice I want. Use that voice, find that voice and where you're coming from, and leverage that strength and use that when you're telling your stories because it'll help you heal. It'll help how you see yourself in the situation. I also think that writing about things that are very meaningful to you and personal to you help bring you peace. So I wish anybody on this journey writes about what's important to them and helps bring them peace. I know that my best songwriting is usually done after something I've gone through it and I'm in the healing phase of it. That's when the best part of the writing happens. So give yourself a chance. It's okay to revise your work and rewrite it and rewrite it and rewrite it and basically trim it down to a point where you're telling the story in the best possible way that does your story justice.
Could not have said it more perfectly. Thank you so much for joining me for this fantastic conversation. Can you please share with everyone where they can find you online and listen to your music?
Thank you. Well, first of all, I want to thank you so much for having me on
Of
here. I had such a
course.
great time chatting.
Yeah.
I'm Robbie Harte. You can find me on my website, robbiehearte.com. That's ROBBIEHARTE.com. And on social media, Instagram and Facebook, you can find me at Robbie Hearte Official, ROBBIEHARTE Official. And on Twitter, I'm Robbie_Hearte. All of my music is available on the streaming platforms on Robbie Hearte.
Perfect. Thank you so much again for joining me. It was lovely having you. Listeners, I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Robbie Hart. And of course, until next time,
Stay
stay right
right
on
on
track.
track.